Across the country, there are tens of thousands of Americans isolated and alone for most, if not all, of the day in a jail cell. Many of the convicted criminals are considered the worst of the worst, but some are in solitary confinement due to a series of events that led to harsh punishments, including the man that you're about to meet. He spent 22 years in isolation, and he's now on a crusade to dramatically change this practice.
It's dark, and it's cold as a dungeon, psychologically anyway. The light is dim in the room, and it's very small, and it just seemed like the walls are caving in. There is no sound, and if you do hear a sound, it is seem louder than what it is because it's like an empty football stadium. But on the other end of the spectrum, it's loud and chaotic, like somebody just scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. I was trapped in a cell 24 hours a day. Every once in a while, it might be 23 hours. Like I might get to go outside to what we call like a dog cage and be out there for an hour or so. But for the most part, I'm trapped in a cell. So the only way I was really able to engage with people and see other people and talk to other people was when I engaged in self-harm. It was extraordinary. I did have contact with people, but it was under extreme circumstances because I engaged in self-harm. But when I got out, it was much different because I didn't have to do the extreme in order to have social stimulation and human contact.
It's estimated there are 80,000 Americans in solitary confinement on any given day. Anthony tells us it nearly broke him. You've talked about how it serves as a psychological killer. What is the worst part? The worst part is being trapped in the cell 24/7, not being able to receive social contact and human contact. When Anthony Gay was 20 years old, he got into a street fight. He was accused of stealing a hat and a $1 bill. He was charged with aggravated battery and robbery. I had no idea that I was about to be tortured for decades. In the state of Illinois, there are 6 different classes for sentencing a felony offense. Each one carries a sentencing range that varies depending on the class. But for offenses in classes 1 through 4, the judge has the option to sentence the defendant to a term of probation instead. So they were like, if you plead guilty to the robbery, you'll dismiss the aggravated battery. So I'm thinking, I don't want to face 4 to 15 years for a street fight. So I plead guilty to the robbery and get 4 years probation. When I get out, I'm driving a car without a license. I get pulled over and I get arrested. My probation gets revoked for driving without a license and I get resentenced. He was resentenced to 7 years in prison, but it was after a fight while serving that time that he was placed into solitary confinement. You had a fight, and because of just a fight, you went to solitary confinement for 22 years. While I'm in solitary confinement, like I would cut on myself, they'll write me a disciplinary report, and it'd extend my time. I would act out, throw urine, liquids on officers. They would extend my time, and things of that sort. Like instead of like allowing me to see mental health and taking it as a health concern, they took punitive measures. Do you think that people underestimate the value of contact with other human beings? I don't know if underestimate would be the appropriate word. I don't think people really understand it, that some people don't care and other people are not just aware.
It's really this very devastating and brutal way of containing people that breaks down the ability for people to do emotional regulation, to read appropriate social cues, and then people act out because they're overwhelmed and their brain is flooded and their hippocampus is shrinking. And when they act out, then they get more time. And so it becomes this like impossible cycle where people can't get out. I don't think there's enough dialogue about the consequences of what it's like for staff to look at humans in captivity every day and to look at what happens to them when they are enforcing these dehumanizing approaches to solitary confinement.
Representative LaShawn Ford is the Illinois House sponsor for the bill HB 3564, also known as the Anthony Gay Isolated Confinement Act.
When we learned about Anthony Gay's situation and how it impacted him mentally and what he had to do to get out of solitary confinement, it was devastating, and he immediately touched my heart.
10 years in the making, this bill would limit isolated confinement as well as allow inmates to have access to certain activities while outside of their cell.
What we're learning is if there's going to be some form of solitary confinement, it's our job to make sure that you don't keep people locked away for over 20 years in a solitary state. That's harmful, it's traumatic, and it only harms society as a whole because those people come back and they become our neighbors.
Okay, the chair recognizes Representative Ford to present House Bill 3564.
Thank you, Chairman. This bill is not to move past second. We will work with the department, with all of the witnesses to get an agreement.
And I do want to emphasize what this bill does and doesn't do. It does not eliminate disciplinary segregation. It does not eliminate the department's ability to punish people. What it does do is say that every prisoner in the state of Illinois should be out of their cell at least 4 hours out of every 24 hours. And if they're going to put them in a cell for more than 4 hours, the limitation is 10 days out of every 6 months.
The bill passed through the House and is now on its way through the Senate. Across the country, similar bills are on the docket in multiple state legislatures. In March, New York passed the HALT Act, which limits time spent in solitary confinement to 15 days. And Washington State and Connecticut advocates are looking to soon follow suit. For Anthony, this is personal. Every day since his 2018 release, he's been advocating for prison reform for those who remain floundering in solitary confinement.
You said sometimes you still cry at night. What's causing those tears?
I know what it's like to be in there and be tortured. And I know that many people are still being tortured, and I feel guilty because I got out and they didn't. But I believe that if we can inform more people and more people become aware, then strength is in numbers, and we can compel them to take a hard look at this is domestic terrorism. This is psychological torture. This is a crime against humanity, and compel them to do something about it. It's wrong, Linsey. It's despicable and it's horrible, and it needs to stop.
Our thanks to Anthony for sharing his story.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.